Do you need a passport on a Disney cruise? Today I'm going to answer that question and more, and also give you my thoughts about why it's important to have the passport even if your cruise doesn't specifically require it. Let's answer the first question first. Do you need a passport on a Disney cruise? The answer, it depends which cruise itinerary you're going on. We can split this answer into two different categories. Either you need your passport or you can use your birth certificate plus a government ID. For the cruises that allow you to just use your government ID and a birth certificate, you can also use your passport as well. So passport works for all the Disney cruises, but some of them will allow you to just use that birth certificate and ID. If you're sailing on an Alaskan cruise from Vancouver, you can use an ID and birth certificate. For cruises departing from Port Canaveral, Miami, Galveston, San Diego, San Juan, and New York on round-trip cruises to the Bahamas, Caribbean, Pacific Coast, Bermuda, or Canada, you can use your birth certificate and government ID. Now that's for round-trip cruises. If you're going on one of the one-way cruises in the Caribbean, you do need a passport. For one-way cruises from the Pacific Coast, Canada, or Hawaii, which includes the San Diego to Vancouver or the Vancouver to San Diego, the New York to Quebec City and back again, and Vancouver to Hawaii or Hawaii to Vancouver, you will need your passport for those. For all Disney cruises traveling anywhere around Europe, you will need your passport. For Panama Canal cruises, you also are required to have your passport. For transatlantic crossings from Miami to Barcelona, you will be required to have your passport as well. The same applies for the other direction on the transatlantic cruise from Dover to New York. You are required to have your passport for that one. These are the current documentation requirements on the Disney Cruise Line. Once the 3 new ships come out and we get more itineraries, I'm sure this list will be updated, but if you need a reference guide, you can find the link to all of the requirements from the Disney Cruise website linked in the description of this video. Now, if you're like me and you've only cruised to the Bahamas and a little bit of the Caribbean, you may feel like you really don't need your passport, and that is true, but do you want to have it with you anyway? My recommendation is yes, simply in the event something happens that you didn't expect. At the time of filming, I have been on 3 Disney cruises, and out of all 3 of them, 2 of them had to make changes to their itineraries based on the weather. Luckily, none of these changes required us to change the final departure point for our cruise. For example, on the March Adventure, instead of going to St. Martin, we went to Castaway Cay twice and then ended our cruise at Port Canaveral. On the Father-Son Very Merry Christmas Cruise Adventure, we didn't get a chance to go to Castaway Cay, and instead they changed it to another day at sea, but we did end the cruise in Galveston. These changes took place during the course of our cruise, but it didn't change that final destination. We ended up in Port Canaveral or Galveston. But what if that had changed? Let's imagine for a moment on the Very Merry Time Christmas Cruise Adventure, which was magical, let's say we couldn't go to Castaway Cay because of the weather, the same thing happened, and as we were making our way back to Galveston, let's say a crane fell into the water near the port. No one was hurt, but no ships can get in there and the other ports are totally full. Then what? It's never guaranteed, but it's possible that to get all of the guests off the ship, the Disney Cruise Line would have to divert to another country's port, like in Mexico or another country in South America. That would be an unbelievably rare occurrence because there are a lot of other ports that are available in the United States, but let's say that happened. Just by chance, having your passport would be the difference between getting on a plane and getting right home and Disney refunding you for the plane flight and everything, versus having to go to an embassy or a consulate and having to fill out a bunch of paperwork and a lot of red tape because all you have is your birth certificate and driver's license. The chances of this happening on your Disney cruise adventure is almost 0, but just with that chance, having that peace of mind of having your passport with you definitely makes me feel more comfortable. Now, if this kind of situation came true and you only have your driver's license and birth certificate, don't worry, you will not be trapped in Mexico or another South American country. You will be able to go back to the United States. It just will take longer with the red tape, maybe sitting in the airport or sitting in an embassy waiting for things to go through. It's not a requirement, but having it definitely gives me a lot of peace of mind. Let me know your thoughts on having a passport on the Disney cruise. Do you feel like it's a necessity and you take several one-way cruises, or have you taken several Caribbean cruises before and you feel like you really don't need it? And even if there was a diversion like this, you really will just deal with the wait and you'll just wait in the embassy or wait in the airport for you to get that paperwork through and then make your way home. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being a part of the magic with me. Until next time, have a magical day.